All right, next is Richard Anderson.
Well, I think the first step to encouraging a business to come into Alpena is to have, we have to lower taxes. We have to make it affordable for businesses to be here, for their employees to live here in the city. I've got a friend who just bought a house, and she had a choice of two houses. They were across the street from each other. One was in the township, one was in the city. The city house, well, I think had the taxes were twice as much. Now, she made an obvious choice for her was to move outside the city, and that's a shame because we could use that money. Now, the first thing we need to do is lower the taxes. We need to work with some of our successful businesses here in town to find out what they're doing right and set up relationships with them. I mean, again, government can't create jobs. Government doesn't create long-lasting jobs. But we need to set the stage for businesses to create jobs, to help these private people succeed and make it easier for them. So what can we do to make it easier for them? We can, like I said, lower taxes. We can work on setting up businesses that are already successful and business owners who are doing well, and help them work with businesses who want to start up. We can give those businesses a boost to help them to encourage and hire new people. I learned recently that the hospital hires, let me look at my little figures here, has 900 jobs for the community and brings in $180 million a year. And that's great. I think we need to work with the hospital to help them bring in more doctors and keep those doctors here. I think one of the areas that Sean and I really agree on is having Alpena be a strong cultural center. We want to bring highly educated people into this town, and the doctors and nurses, and we can do that, and they're going to want to have the arts. They want to have the music and things that we can bring into Alpena, and I would love to work on that. I know CMU is starting a new medical school, and they're going to focus on rural recruitment, and they're going to be using Alpena Hospital as a training center for their new doctors, which are going to bring a lot of new students into Alpena. It's going to bring, hopefully people will see Alpena, sorry, first we've gotten that, and they'll say, I want to live here, and they will, and I think that's great.
All right, Sam Eiler. All right, this next question we will begin with Richard Anderson. Alpena city voters chose almost 2-to-1 to not sell the city-owned beachfront park at the foot of Baldwin and State. If elected, would you support those present city council and staff members who want to revisit this referendum and make the property available to the group wishing to build a hotel on the property?
I always want to bring issues to the voters. If the voters want to revisit it, I would be happy to bring that up again. But if the voters went 2-to-1 against it, I guess that's probably not going to happen. So sometimes you need to let a sleeping dog lie, and that's my simple answer.
Sam Eiler?
Janet?
Sean Sexton.
This issue failed 2 years ago, largely because voters didn't know what they were voting on. It was not specific. The developer did not want to divulge a lot of information. And if you go to the booth and you really don't know, what that development is or what it pertains to, of course you're going to vote against that. So I do think if it is something that ends up on a ballot in the future, it needs to be specific. People need to know this is what you're getting, this is what you're giving up, this is how it's going to help our community. Specifically, what I would like to do is buy those properties, buy Hunan's, buy the lot next to it, buy the beach hotel so the city can at least control its own fate. I think from then you can have the discussion, what's the best thing to do with this property? Is it to put it back in the park system? Is it to sell it to the developer? Is it to hang on to it, buy cheap, sell high 5 years down the road? I would at least like the city to control its own fate there. It's a valuable piece of property. It's right in the middle of our community. It's in a high access area. I'd rather have the city own it, have some control over own fate, than just let a developer come in and control that themselves. I compare that to what the situation at the river now. I think riverfront development is an attractive idea. I think it's not a point of access for people, so we could develop that. It doesn't result in a loss of access to that area, but we're powerless to do anything about that. That's in a private developer's hands. They have the right to do what they want to do with it. So when we go back to the lakefront property, whether the hotel is the best thing there, I think voters should decide that. But I do think it's our responsibility to say this is exactly, okay, what would happen if we sold that property to the developers. Ultimately, do we need to develop the waterfront? Yes. Do we need a beachfront hotel somewhere? Yes. And whether that's the exact location or not that's best, I don't know. But when people come to this community, we push tourism. We can't say, hey, this is a great community, come here, come visit, but get the heck out of here before nightfall. There's nowhere to stay. So I would support, hotel development on the water, at least someplace.
All right, this will effectively be the last question in order to get closing statements in. And I'm going to combine three, essentially, because they sort of follow topic. The first part of it is, what was your opinion of the biorefinery being approved by the council?
I'm really in favor of biorefinery. I think it's important we bring jobs in the community, and if 11 jobs are 11 more than we have right now, and I think that's a good step forward. We need to encourage more projects like this that are a little bit experimental, that are models of how we can do it in the future, and then show Alpena as a model for the rest of the state and the rest of the country. I think Alpena can do it. I know Alpena can do it. As far as recycling, I grew up recycling all the time, curbside. I'm in favor of it. I think there's how we go about doing it. That's a sticky wicket, and we need to take a look at make sure we're doing it right, and I'm in favor of it.
All right, and closing statements will begin in reverse order. So Sean Sexton, you're up first.
Yeah, and started this evening talking about why I'm running, why I think I'm a good candidate for city council. I'd like to end and talk about some specific